Good evening, Speed Racing Network fans, and welcome to the Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show. I'm your host this evening, Dean Brummett, with my co-broadcaster, James Holzer, for tonight's Speed Racing Network Xfinity Series race, the Right Turn Roval 100. James, we get to go to our first road course this evening. In our first 4 weeks of this season, we've seen plate racing, short track racing, mile-and-a-half racing, and now the drivers will be tested as much as ever this evening with this challenging Roval track. Welcome up into the booth for the first time this evening, buddy.
Yeah, Dean, it's an honor to be up here. Really weird not being on the track tonight, but, needed some shoes to fill up here, so I'm going to do my best to do so.
Well, buddy, I tell you what, this race is definitely going to be a fun one to watch. I know last night watching the truck race, we saw the two truck of Ed Shear just kind of pull out, leave the field, not have too much of an issue. But, man, I tell you, this is one of those places where you just have to be completely technical, ready to hit your marks every single time. And one little mistake here, especially as hot and as slick as what this track can be with these big, heavy Xfinity Series cars, that can send you right off track and ruin an entire lap, or if worse, maybe an entire race this evening, buddy.
Yeah, I agree. And with a record amount of SRN Xfinity cars going to be on track at one time tonight, anything can happen, especially on this initial start with going on the long straightaway instead of going through the chicane. Because these cars are going to be carrying more speed through there than they will all race. So these drivers are talented. They know what it takes. So I think they'll do a good job.
Well, for this race this evening, we mentioned it, the Right Turn Roval 100. It's going to be 45 laps this evening here, no fast repairs. And like you said, somebody could very well wind up having their entire race gone in a matter of 1 to 2 turns here this evening, James. We saw a lot of trucks last night off the lead lap, out of the race, damage, anything like this. And, you want to be able to get out, get into a rhythm, get everything going. And, here's the kicker tonight. There's no caution flag. So, you go through, you have a bad first couple laps, you don't get that time to repair that damage tonight. It is every man for himself on the green flag drop tonight.
Yeah, as you said, every man for himself. And 45 laps might seem like forever because, like you said, no cautions and no fast repairs either. So it's going to take a consistent driver and just driving within your parameters and staying on track, and that could result you a good finish.
Well, for those who aren't familiar with the Speed Racing Network Xfinity Series, the way that we run this this league here, we have 20 weeks, which are points-paying weeks. We have fixed setups, which means every driver is going to be having the same setup. The cars are going to handle the same. They don't have any fast repairs, so any damage is going to be kind of like real-life damage. Your car gets hurt, you got to try to pull those fenders out, do whatever work you can in the pits. These guys pay $10 a week to enter here into this league, and we pay out each week as well as at the end of the season. And at the end of the season, someone's going to be crowned a champion, take home a cool $500. But then they have a team championship here with Speed Racing Network that actually pays $200 to the best 5-man team. And James, I think you and I can both agree, as much fun as it is racing for the individual points, there's kind of a special level of excitement with that team championship. Just going through, just to kind of be the big trash talker amongst the groups to say, hey, I'm on top.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dean. That $200 championship might be less than the first place individual championship, but as you said, it kind of means more, I think, to the driver because that teamwork is just something special. And yeah, $500 for first place, as you said, and there's other money amounts as well for the other drivers, but we'll get into that later. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. With the payouts that we have, just like you mentioned, where we pay out each week, you got first place for tonight's race is going to win $30. Second place is going to win $20. And we mentioned the $10 entry fees there. Third, fourth, and fifth, they're going to bring home their entry fee, basically, James. We kind of expanded this year to pay out a little bit more amongst these drivers. It wasn't so much based off of field size like it was last season, and so all around a lot more money. I mean, it's unrealistic to think about it, but if you go through, you have a driver win all 20 races at $600 in their pocket right there. More than likely, their team's going to be doing pretty well. $600 to a champion for winning all the races, $500 for a championship, $200. I mean, there's just money flying out of everywhere here.
Yeah, there is lots of money to be paid out, and it's nice to have a fixed amount. So if you finish in the top 5, you're at least going to get your money back. Whereas last year, like you said, it was based off how many drivers showed up. Yeah, $30 to your first place driver, so they get 3 entry fees for the next 3 races.
Yeah, and that three entry fee that can go a long way for some guys. I know that Sunday in the Cup Series race, I finally finished in the money for the first time this season, and I swear once that momentum gets rolling, it just kind of goes through and you can't stop it. You take that momentum far enough, and just like you mentioned, you got some season payouts here now. Last season, James, we only paid out our championship 5. That was as far as the prize money went. But this season, like we mentioned, $500 to your champ. $300 to second place, 180 to third, 120 to fourth. Fifth is getting 80, sixth is getting 60, seventh 40, and eighth 20. And James, you just look at that top 5. I mean, it's definitely some good cash there. That top 3, you get a podium on the season, you wind up paying for almost an entire season of racing next year. And man, it's just an awesome program to go through. Something very validating. You go through racing an entire 20-week season, and at the end have a little bit of cash waiting for you that that you've worked very, very hard for.
Yeah, I agree, and nice to have a payout for the top 8 this season. So if you're not in that top 5 in points and you're real close, still gives you something to fight for. Whether it's 60, 40, or $20, that's still 6 entries, 4 entries, 2 entries. So gives everybody on the track something to fight for, and a lot of money can go to your top 3, like you said, if you're consistent and you can get one of those podium spots. If you finish 3rd or higher, that almost pays for your entire next season of entries.
Well, another great thing here with Speed Racing Network that we do have here, James, is our Kane Cook coaching sessions. Now, Kane Cook is a professional iRacer in the NASCAR Coke Series, the upper echelon of stock car racing in the sim world. Kane has agreed to come on with us last season to kind of help some of these drivers go through, and they feel like they need that extra little nudge, that extra little boost. They just may be missing it just a little bit. He's got a 7,400 I rating, and he's known as what's called a hard charger. Basically, he is very, very good at qualifying towards the back, but working his way up through the field. So with working your way through the field like that, James, you and I both know there's a level of consistency, a level of difficulty, a level of luck sometimes enshrined with missing some wrecks here and there, but Kane's one of the best at it. And I have a feeling that inbox was probably lit up this week with drivers trying to figure their way around this Roval.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, and he actually has 2 accounts over 7,000, so that shows Kane's true dedication to this series and the sim itself. And being a hard charger, it really shows you a lot throughout the race, because passing, especially in the Cup cars, not so much in the Xfinity and the truck, but the dirty air is super bad. So learning how to pass, because Kane Cook knows how to do it best, is essential to be good in Speed Racing Network.
Yes, sir. And you want to qualify up front, be able to get out of the way. But man, like I said, if you find yourself in the back and you're just kind of wondering, man, how can I fight my way from the back each week? Kane Cook's going to be your best answer, and we've already seen it pay off with a couple of wins at the end of last season and the start of this season by driver 31 Greg Olenek. So if you are looking to book your Kane Cook coaching session, you can check it out on SpeedRacingNetwork.com. You can do it in single sessions, duos, trios, an entire group, whatever you need. Kane Cook has the answer to help you go faster. Now, we're also going to go through here, James, and introduce this week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week.
This week's Beer of the Week is created by Bell's Brewery in Michigan. For 7 years, a beer called Pliny the Elder was the top pale ale in the country. Then Bell's Brewery decided to create an IPA called Two-Hearted Ale that knocked Pliny the Elder off that top spot. Once they took the top spot, Bell's Brewery decided to take it one step further and created Double Two-Hearted Ale. It debuted back in 2019, but Bell's Brewery only puts out the Double Two-Hearted Ale on the shelves occasionally as a seasonal release. Well, luckily for you, this is the season. This is a hoppier, slightly boozier version of Two-Hearted Ale, but with the same great flavor as the original. If you want the best, you get the best, but if you want even better than the best, then go pick up Bell's Brewery's Double Two-Hearted Ale. The Beer of the Week is brought to you by Beer Street Journal, the leading publication for craft beer reviews. Go to beerstreetjournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly.
And there you have it, James. That's this week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week, the Double Two-Hearted Ale by Bell's Brewery. I have actually had this beer before, James, a very, very good one. I am not much of an IPA guy myself, but that one is actually a very good one. And if you guys ever have a chance to check it out, we absolutely suggest to, and want to thank Beer Street Journal for providing us with this beer of the week. Check them out at beerstreetjournal.com for all sorts of suggestions, no matter what it is that you're looking to drink. And always remember to please drink responsibly. Well, James, as we continue here on our Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show, we're going to take a look here at our standings. We look up here at the very top. You got Seth Reed leading the field here. Very consistent these first 3 weeks. 95 points to his name. Vincent Cortez in second. For Tank Racing, Greg Olenek coming off of a win a couple weeks ago in third. Devin Zimmerman in fourth. That is the one driver I definitely would like to look to highlight and watch this evening here, James, because Devin, I feel like, has really come into his own in the last couple seasons. Last season was a little difficult, but he had some very shining moments here. But this season, he's been up front, been having that 33 car out there all season long. So I'm just ready to see what he can do and see if he can get that breakout win.
Yeah, we'll definitely be taking a look at Devin Zimmerman. And rolling back down through the standings here, you got a couple Roval Motorsports guys, Daniel Bowder and Jovi Ray, 5th and 6th. Brian Huntley in 7th. Bo Tiffany from R&D Motorsports in 8th. Jack Hedgecox in 9th with Stryker, and Dylan Patterson in 10th in R&D. Lots of talent through here. I've raced with Brian Huntley in other leagues on iRacing and on NASCAR Heat. Has some speed throughout all the tracks, so we'll be taking a look at him tonight, as well as, like I said, a couple of those other guys, and further down through the list too. It's just an entirely stacked field here in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, and one big thing right there on those standings that I just wanted to point out there, you had 4 Rev Racing cars, James, there in the top 15. Nathan Nixon in 11th, Landon Lacey in 12th, Adam Pettit there in 13th, Adrian Schumacher in 14th, and Jose Castellanos in 15th. A couple of those revved cars, you're looking there actually, so 2 revved, 2 revved reloaded, but all kind of under the same banner. Now, outside the cut, that's a little bit different of a story. You got a huge mix here. Ryan Phillips sitting there, the first car out. Daniel Keith Jr. right behind him. These guys, James, it's early enough in the season to where they have a chance to really kind of turn it around. As I look through some of these names, I mean, you just had some guys just have some of the worst luck that you could have possibly seen. You look at last season's champion there, Logan Joyner in 21st. And right now, I don't actually even see Logan entered for this race. So that's going to be one that's really going to be interesting to watch. Actually, I just saw him get onto the track. I'm sorry. The hauler rolled up late, Scott Bloomquist style, but he has made it. So some of these guys are just looking for that little break to turn everything around. And hey, long season, sometimes the momentum can build just off of a road course win.
Yeah, I agree. And a couple of other guys to touch on quickly in this group here: Jordan Bain, Ted Brekich, Josh Goen. A couple of these other guys, like you said, throughout this, have a lot of time in the season to pick it up. A lot of races left, and tonight can be the night to start that.
Well, when we go through, we mentioned those teams a couple moments ago in terms of revved and revved reloaded, but right here, let's take a look at that team championship. Up top, you've got Tank Racing without a single win, but an 8-point lead. Rev Racing there with 1 win in second. R&D Motorsports has 2 wins to their name this season, sitting in third. Roval Motorsports, a position they're not really used to here. They're not used to here, James. They're used to being holding that top position and running with it, but they're in fourth. Like we mentioned, a little rough luck this season. Now, Rev Reloaded's in 5th, Stryker Motorsports is in 6th, Jonathan Byer Racing in 7th, Highline Racing in 8th, and rounding out the field is Smith Road Racing. So when you got the name Road Racing in your name, even though you're down there at the bottom, you better show up big on these road courses.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, Tank Racing up there in first place with no wins just really shows their consistency, as 3 drivers out of the 5 on the team have the points registered for the team point standings, but really shows their consistency. And these top 6 actually are really, really close in points, so a lot of time left. Anybody can take command of this.
Well, let's go through here, James, and let's actually take a look at these teams here, buddy. I mean, we mentioned it with Tank Racing kind of leading the way. I mentioned earlier Devin Zimmerman having himself a great season in that 33 car, kind of been the flagship for Tank Racing so far this year. You got Derek Da Silva there in the 5. We mentioned Devin in the 33, Mike Lepicki in the 46, Vincent Cortez in the 69, and Adrian Schumacher in the 82. They've been consistent all season long, and it's not a matter of if that first win's coming. It is sheerly when they are going to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And tonight, I think Adrian Schumacher is one that everyone's going to have eyes on this road course season. Outstanding road course racer. Vincent Cortez up there high in the points, and Devin Zimmerman's up there too. Any of these guys, like you said, are on the brink of their first win.
Yeah, next up here, James, we got Rev Racing in second. Aaron Gerwitz in the 09 involved in that lap 1 incident last week at Dover. Ted Rekich there in 10th had a very nasty wreck last week also. Landon Lacey in the 24, Jordan Bain in the 28, and Greg Olenek we mentioned with that 1 win. These guys have a lot of speed to their name. They are sitting second for a reason. They definitely could have been first, I think, without some of the carnage last week. And like I said, Lacey very, very good there at Dover. So we'll see what they can bring momentum-wise here into the Roval tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Touching down through that list quickly, Jordan Bain, Greg Olenek, Ted Rekich, as you said, really the whole team is stacked on points. And with a little bit of luck, I think they can make their way up to that podium spot on the team standings.
Well, we mentioned luck, and hey, luck and skill, sometimes they walk hand in hand together. And R&D Motorsports up here in third. These guys, they've sat here with 2 wins already this season. They got Dylan Patterson in the 8 with a win, Ryan Phillips in the double alt with a win, Bo Tiffany in 13th, Corey Saucier in 19th, and Stan Hausman. A list of names, some tenured guys here in the Xfinity series. Sometimes once you get a couple seasons under your belt, you really learn what these cars will do, and tonight we'll see how they can navigate this track.
Yeah, with 2 wins on the team so far in 3 races, that's pretty impressive, with Ryan Phillips and Dylan Patterson both having wins. And any of the other 3 drivers can also get wins at any point in time, so look for them to make their way up.
Well, another team that definitely knows how to win, and they do it often, just not yet this season in the Xfinity Series, James. The team we will try not to show too awful much bias towards, our own home team, Roval Motorsports, with our good buddies Jovi Ray in the 3, Daniel Baldler there in the 6, Ryan Ducommun in 7th, Logan Joyner in 9th, and Zach Taylor in 14th. Every single one of these guys here has gotten themselves a win in the Xfinity Series at some point in time. I think this is the only team where every driver has had a win in one of their seasons. And like I said, a little bit of tough luck these last few weeks between the plate racing at Daytona as well as the carnage last week at Dover here, James. But these guys definitely know how to bounce back, and we know the type of dedication that they put into any given rate.
Yeah, like you said, the dedication, just being on this team, seeing the practice that they put in, the other teams put in as well, but they put outstanding dedication in. And look for Daniel Bowder to have a good performance tonight, and Logan Joyner being down there in the points, look for him to also have a pretty good performance tonight and move his way up through the driver's standings. Yeah,
definitely needs a bounce back there from that one. Coming up there, the one that our good buddy Sean Griffith got me with last week on broadcasting, Rev Reloaded. This is the second Rev Racing team. We mentioned we have a couple of those guys up there in the top 10 in points. This team consists of Danny Dow, Marshall Stanley, Adam Pettit, Josh Siegfried, and Nathan Nixon. So, a very, very stacked team. A lot of these guys here have been around for quite some time in this league. Danny Dow, one of the starting members. And I tell you, man, this team, they know what's going on. And when you've got that much help between Rev and Rev Reloaded, it's only a matter of time before you start to see those results.
Next up in the team standings, we have Stryker Motorsports. Looking down through the standings with them, once they come up, their driver roster consists of the 4 of Jose Castanelos, Josh Gowen in the 18, Brandon Domingue in the 40 or in the 20, 42 being Tyler Markle, and 43 being Jack Hedgecox. Any of these drivers as well can have a great performance. 20 of Brandon Domingue's been having a good season. Josh Gowen down there a little bit in the standings, but also is a pretty talented driver. So look for him to make his move.
Yes, sir. And those guys can get those finishes whenever the luck goes through. Another team that's very good about that is Jonathan Byer Racing with the 35 of Josh Marcy, the 61 of Josh Witt, the 63 of Brian Huntley Jr., the 66 of Nathan De La Rosa, and the 91 of Jack Dusher.
And Highline Racing is going to be your next team up here in the point standings. Looking at their roster here, see their standing go high and pass fast. Looking for them to do that with their 3 drivers they have. Wayne Rayborn in the 12, the 23 of Daniel Keith Jr., and the 22 of Seth Reed. Seth Reed is also your points leader.
Yes, sir. Going to be hard for them to win the championship with only 3 drivers when we only count 3. But then you have the round out of the field of Smith Road Racing, an RSR affiliate company. Basically, you know, this team came on at the start of the season. You got Dustin Scruggs in the 11, the 38 of Chris Darling, the 88 of Tristan Bailey, and the 89 of Sean Hamilton. Like I said, they got road racing in the name and road racing in the veins here, James. So we expect something big out of these guys tonight. And then you got your independent drivers, the 1 of Byron McDonald, the 17 of Bo Brady, the 25 of Jacob Zala, 44 of Joseph DuPont, the 36 of Kyle Johnson, the 57 of Emerson Ardon, 74 of Josh Balliet, and the 78 of David Duke. So, man, we've got part-timers here from the trucks, part-timers from the Cup, part-timers from even here in the Xfinity Series, all coming out to kind of stake their claim here for the Right Turn Roval 100. And just as you mentioned at the top of the show here, Daniel Bowdler there on the pole for this race. Emerson Ardon, one of our independents, dropping down, running in second. Josh Balliet there in third. Vincent Cortez qualified 4th, and Corey Saucier qualified there in 5th, and Devin Zimmerman just keeps putting that name out there, qualified in 6th this evening, James.
Yeah, and just as you touched earlier, we didn't even know if Logan was going to be racing tonight. He qualified 7th. We have Bo Brady in 8th, Jordan Bain in 9th, and Joseph DuPont rounding out your top 10. Then we have Greg Olenek from Rev Racing qualifying 11th, and Nathan De La Rosa rounding out your top dozen.
Well, you know, this is the fun part when you got a big track like this here. You know, you got plenty of time on your initial pace laps as you see the entire field down here. Engines have fired. You know, we always ask each week here, James, who's going to be the one that you got to pick? You know, which is the driver that you want out of this whole group to kind of go out here, shock the world? And man, I tell you what here, I don't think it's going to be too much of a shock tonight because the road racers, the ones with that different level of discipline, they're going to be the ones that are going to rise to the top tonight. But here's the joy. There is carnage around every corner here at the Roval. I had the very distinct pleasure the first time that we ran here, James, that I actually won here when we were under the banner of Mid-South Madness. And man, let me tell you something. I wouldn't have won that race without quite a bit of carnage and some very unfortunate luck on behalf of Marshall Stanley. But man, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you here. Being that this is my last race in the booth for the foreseeable future, I'm going to go ahead and give you the pick here, James. Who do you have taking home that checkered flag tonight?
Taking the checkered flag tonight, I think I have Adrian Schumacher. I know he's not on the pole, but has shown outstanding speed all week. So he is all the way back there. So I look for him to make his way through the pack. A lot of time in this race and a lot of carnage. I look for him to avoid it and make his way through the field.
I'll tell you what, man, starting 29th, that is an awful lot here to try and overcome. If you wind up picking it right, then I probably should get out of the booth at that point and turn the keys over to you here. But, man, I got to kind of go with the big name, the guy who I know can wheel it around these road courses, a guy that's helped me all week long here try to figure this track out a little bit, and that's your pole sitter, Daniel Bowdler. I've jinxed him more than a few times in making picks with him, but, buddy, I tell you, that car and the dedication he has put forth in it tonight, I just cannot turn away from the 6. I love that Mark Martin stylized 6 that he has on the side of the car. Mark Martin saw a lot of success in his lifetime at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and buddy, I think tonight the 6 is going to victory lane again.
Can't go wrong with picking the pole sitter, and tonight we have 43 cars on track, so definitely going to be a lot to navigate and a lot to watch from everywhere from first all the way down to 43rd. So really looking forward to getting this race kicked off underway as they're coming down the backstretch here.
Well, one car that I am going to keep an eye on this entire night just because of the sheer unadulterated carnage that can take place here at the Roval. The last place qualifier here, James, Aaron Gerwitz starting all the way back in 43rd. And he was involved in a lap 1 wreck last year at Dover, which pretty much ended his night off the bat. And then you've got Dylan Patterson back there right next to him, last week's winner. These guys are going to have a lot of ground to make up. I don't know how in the world they're going to do it. I could never imagine starting that far back somewhere here. But you know what? The pace car's getting ready to pull off here, James. These guys are going to go through. The flag man's got an easy job tonight. 2 flags are coming out. The green flag, the white flag, and then the checkered flag. As you see the cones go everywhere, Daniel Bowdler gets on the gas, and we are green here at the right turn Roval 100. As he goes down into turn number 1, watch for smoke. Oh, and you see the outside, Emerson Arnold. Carnage into turn 1. All sorts of cars going around. Damage everywhere. Cars sneaking around, trying to get going. Vincent Cortez around. A huge car on its roof right there, James. Already guys resetting. They are done for the night. We'll have to get a total of who it was, what happened here. Looks like Ryan Ducombe was one of them here. Bo Tiffany. Just all sorts of carnage there on lap number 1.
Yeah, and that might be some of the advantage of the driver's slot of qualifying in the back, maybe knowing something like that was going to happen and having some time to roll through that. As we're seeing Daniel Bowdler here really just check out from Logan Joyner here in P2. Pretty packed up, though, through there.
Yeah, and actually, I made the call of Ryan Ducombe. Looks like actually Ryan, rather than gritting and possibly fighting through that, made the decision to start on pit road. And so he's out there clean until now. He just got a car in the side of the door there, getting ready to get onto NASCAR 1. Not certain who that was who hit him there, but that's just the type of carnage that you see all night here. The scoring and timing is going to be a little bit wacky this evening. So as you watch the ticker tonight on the left side of the screen, just don't take too much stock in it. You see these guys working through here, the backstretch chicane. Slow car up here on the high side. This is a tight area here, James. Watch how they get down to speed. 2 wide is definitely not suggested, and they're going to try it anyway. There's your guy, 82 there in Schumacher.
Oh, 3 wide.
Big wreck, and he's going to bounce off the wall.
Through the grass.
They're spinning through the grass here, James.
Landon Lacey in the 24, I think the 98 also went through the grass, but looks like he came out pretty unscathed, can make his way back on the track. And yeah, the 98 was involved too. Doesn't look like he has much damage either. It looks like he's going to be able to continue on pretty strongly here.
And I think
what a carnage of a lap 1 that was.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. But you know, out front you got Daniel Bowdler, my pick for the race, just kind of pulling away. I guess now's as good a time as ever to kind of start going through and giving you a little bit of a rundown. This is what the field looks like. Daniel Bowdler last time by had almost a 3-second lead. Second place is going to be Logan Joyner. Devin Zimmerman just keeping it consistent, keeping it safe. They're in 3rd. Going to have Josh Balliet there in 4th. Going to have DuPont there in 5th. Bo Brady in 6th. Jordan Bain in 7th. Greg Olenek in 8th. And I mean, you can start seeing these cars already start to kind of fan out here just a little bit, James. And man, you know, that lap 1, lap 2 carnage that you get here at the Roval, that's just a part of it, man. And as this race drags on, these cars get to spread out a little more and a little more. You're going to see a lot of speed difference here in these guys. And this is an absolute, the cream will rise to the top type racetrack.
Yeah, the cream will rise to the top. One thing I was looking at is how much Schumacher has come up through the pack here. He looks like he is up 17 spots already in 2 laps, which is pretty remarkable that he missed all that. He's up through P14 already, and the car looks pretty clean. So it looks like he had a little blink there, but thankfully nobody's around him. He's continuing on here through turn 2, going to the double right-handers in turn 3 and turn 4.
Well, you know, when you can make up that many spots there, you know, a pick from 29th doesn't seem as ridiculous there, James, as what I made it out to sound a little earlier, and especially when you can keep the thing clean. I mean, right now he's got himself a heck of a gap that he needs to make up, about 20 seconds over Daniel Bowdler, and, you know, with 45 laps, you got to look there. I mean, you're dealing with being about 2 seconds a lap faster to make something up like that, which is not unheard of. That is the crazy part about road racing. And James, I think you and I can both agree on it. We've been practicing all week for Sunday night's race, and, you know, to see the seconds kind of click off just here and there, and then a half second, a tenth, just through little mistakes, little corrections through corners. A gap like that can be eaten up over the course of a race, but it's going to take a long time and a lot of patience to get there.
Yes, it can. As right now we're riding on board with the 10 of Ted Wreckage, as he had a really good chicane right there. He's riding in 18th place, a pretty clean track in front of him, and a pretty clean car. So look for him to make his way up through the pack with Red Racing. And now we're on the Tristan Bailey. He's like, oh, the 43 looks like he hit Tristan Bailey here, and he's around. Oh, and he's
Hitchcock's. Oh,
right in the
as Rick
mud,
just
the
mentioned.
82.
Right there, and we're going to have carnage at turn one. Oh, man, this is going to be bad, buddy. Oh, man, let's see how many more. Oh, my gosh. Let's see how many more pile in. Oh, my goodness here, James. This is not good. This is, as a famous sports announcer has said many times in his career, this is bad. This is very, very bad. We have a parking lot in turn one.
We have
man. And the whole time this is happening, you just got leaders pulling away. You got Hitchcock's back here. He's not done. He said, you know what? Just because I'm around doesn't mean I'm done in this race. But that right there, I mean, my goodness, James, that's going to just end the night of a lot of drivers. I see here.
You can see the 6 is already coming back to the start-finish line, and now I'm about 212 back. So this is going to be absolutely crazy to see how this lineup's going to shake out after all of that.
I tell you what, if he's watching his black boxes in car, and for those who aren't familiar with the iRacing sim, while you're in the car, unlike a real race car, you can sit there and kind of look and see how far behind other cars you are, how far behind the leader, your scoring and timing, things like that. And with the relative, it'll show you down to the 10th of a second how far away another driver is for you, whether they be in front of you, behind you, wherever they may be. And I tell you what, if Daniel Bowdler had his relative up, he was probably questioning a lot right there, James. I tell you what, let's go to the Beer Street Journal Rec Replay. Please drink responsibly, and I'm not certain if everybody was here in this wreck down in turn one, James.
You see the 43 got loose there, yep.
He tried
to save it.
Yeah, he tried to save it and just tried to keep it out of as many guys as he could. Looks like that he got into the 4 there, got into Schumacher. He was destroyed. The 81 got into it, and then just everybody just kind of piles in. 10 of Ted Wreckage, the 11th of Scruggs, 39 of Houseman, Dylan Patterson, Landon Lacey. I mean,
where do you go here, though? I mean, there is just absolutely nothing you can do here.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go through here and have the common decency, I feel like, here, James, for your other competitors, to where if you're in the midst of all that and you know it's going to cause a wreck, you've got to kind of reset there. You've got to tow. You've got to get out of the way, because, my goodness, man, I mean, you just look 6 laps into this race. Some of these guys, look back to 9th, right? 9th place is 42 seconds behind the leader here. I mean, that is just absolutely crazy. Now, mind you, if we're running a real sanctioned NASCAR event, I can promise you, James, there's been a yellow flag coming out there in a quick hurry, but we don't do yellows here on road courses in iRacing, just for that very reason.
Yeah, and like you said, the top 9 being that far away from the rest of the field, that really gives a lot of insurance to these top 9 drivers, to where they can kind of take it a little bit easy and know that, hey, we might not fall back as far as we thought, even if we don't have the pace. Qualifying here proved important, as it typically does on road course races. And right now we're checking out the driver's standings here between 1st and 2nd. It looks like Joyner was faster than your leader in the last lap, so look for him to start reeling this in. The lead has fallen from about 3 to about 4.25 seconds, but we're going to watch his ticker and see if he can try to reel in the leader of the 6, Daniel Bowder.
Well, he definitely needs himself a good race there, Logan Joyner does, after having some bad luck these last few weeks. And, man, here's the crazy part with it right there through that little chicane. They call that Heartburn Turn going into turn number 1. And I can tell you here, Heartburn Turn definitely earned its name right there. As you see Daniel Bowdler coming up, he's going to look to the inside in turn number 1 to take his first lap car of the night. Looks like that's the 39 of Stan Houseman. But, James, here's the crazy part, right? You think, okay, hey, these guys are kind of settled in, we're going to go through, get some good racing, no problems. The track out there is 97 degrees, which is close to 25 degrees cooler than it was in practice. So while there is a little bit more grip, some of these guys are driving as hard as they can. You saw one little lock up there out of the 43 of Hitchcock's, what type of carnage it can cause here on this Roval. So no one is safe. It does not matter what part of this racetrack you're on.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's kind of touched back on my comment earlier. Qualifying being so important and trying to have as much clean track as you can really helps you eliminate your chances of getting in an accident. But even being in 10th place there wasn't even really a safe spot. As we're rolling back through the field a little bit further, see a little bit of tire smoke up in front of the double zero. But the 18 of Josh Goen made a really nice pass there on the I believe that's the 19 car there in the heartburn turn as they're going into turn 1.
Yeah, the passing zones here at the Roval are a little different than you might see at a lot of other road courses. You take the more common ones, Watkins Glen International, Sonoma, Road America, purpose-built road racing tracks. And they kind of have some areas set up where you can kind of try to outbrake your opponents. You can try and maybe get onto the throttle a little quicker than they do. Here at the Roval, you really don't have those. If you're going to make a pass, you better be ready to stick your nose to the inside of someone, move them out of the way, or just, more than anything, have that common courtesy to say, hey, you're faster than I am, not going to fight you. You go on with your night. Right now, Daniel Bowler's had a lot of that common courtesy. But I can tell you, as the night rolls on and these tempers start to flare with these drivers with the bad handling race cars, that may end very, very quickly, as it looks like your points leader, Seth Reed, blew the chicane there, came to a stop just to get his temporary black flag taken care of. But that's what you're going to see all night here, James. I mean, this is what you and I are going to be looking forward to Sunday night. I mean, after watching this, I got to ask how those nerves doing you when we get ready to take the green flag Sunday.
Sam, a tad more concerned now. I mean, a lot of the drivers, in the Cup Series are racing down in this, so, anything can happen, as you said, on these road courses, and, you really aren't safe anywhere on the track. So it's just going to be about being consistent and missing the incidents, which, a lot of these drivers in the top 10 have done a great job of doing so far.
James, question for you, because, I say the term every single week when I broadcast, but in every aspect of racing, there are multiple different schools of thought that come to it here. If you're someone out front like Daniel Bowler, you see that your lead is slowly, little by little, increasing over Logan Joyner. And Logan here, actually that last lap, he outran Daniel by about 8/10. But Daniel getting into a little bit of lap traffic here. If you're Daniel Bowler, do you start to kind of take it a little easy just so that way you can save a little bit of your equipment? Or do you still just continue trying to go as hard as you can, and when you catch these lap cars, if you catch them in a bad spot, so be it, but if you can get past them, you go past them? What is the James Holter mentality here if he's in that 6-car lead?
With that 6-car, you got to just keep the lead maintained at where he's at. I really don't think that he has to push any more than he is right now. And he, like you said, he just kind of has to take his time around these lap cars. And if he catches them in a bad spot, he can afford to take his time to make his way around them. But at the same time, you don't want to ease up too much to where you get out of your rhythm and you start making more mistakes than what you would running at your normal pace.
I'll tell you what, buddy, if I was playing a slot machine right now, Devin Zimmerman would be the winner in that 33 car sitting in third. Got that bar lined up. Always such beautiful paint schemes every single week. As you see him kind of go over the rumble strips right there, that is a tough part of the racetrack. You hit those rumble strips a little too deep, and away you go. As you see him under fire there, right behind from DuPont, the 44 machine, Josh Balliot there on the outside. They're going to go in here too wide. Going to be very interesting.
Yeah, Zimmerman gives him a lot of room here.
Oh, man, Zim's giving him a lot of room, too. Lost 2 spots right there. So this is where the handling issues begin to come into effect here. James, you see a pretty sunny racetrack out there. We've seen a little bit of cloud cover here and there. The track temp's holding pretty consistent at 97 degrees right now. So as this race continues to go on and this track gets more and more heat in it, it's going to get a little slicker and a little slicker. And those braking points, I think you and I can both agree, they're going to change. You're going to start braking a little sooner. You're going to get into the gas a little later. These times are going to begin to fall off. And you just got to have it in your head, hey, I can't drive this car the same way I did on fresh tires every single lap.
Yeah, and as you're getting into this about lap 10 run, these tires are going to start to fall off. So you have to be a little more patient getting on the track. As you see the 60 there give way to the 44, and a couple other drivers behind them doing a great job of getting out of the way of these lead lap drivers. As you kind of said, you just kind of got to be a little bit easier on the car, and you just got to do your best you can to keep all 4 tires on the track.
Well, I tell you what, up front, Daniel Bowler still continuing to stretch that lead out here. Why don't we take a look on board and show our fans at home what a lap around this Roval looks like. He's about to go through that last chicane coming here to the start-finish line. So he's going to go down in here. He's going to come over these rumble strips down into this very short little straightaway here, James. Hard braking zone down here into the heartburn turn. Going to get his left side tires right up on the rumble strips. Take it out to the wall. You see these elevation changes. Look at that little hill. I mean, it's almost like a walking bridge. It goes up and down. Another short chute, way off the throttle. No gas, no gas, no gas. Still no gas pedal. And then he's going to get the second longest straightaway that we're going to have here in this race right here down into another braking zone. But James, look at this. More elevation. Look at this hill go up and then right back down. Watch this huge divot he goes into. It's like a roller coaster, a blind curve. He's going to come up a hill again and get onto the part of the track everybody's a little more familiar with in terms of NASCAR Turn 1. Climb the hill, get all that power down. James, the whole time, these cars, they're not happy. These cars do not like being thrown left and right. They are not designed to do it as Bowler goes down this backstretch. Heavy braking zone here to get into these chicanes down the backstretch. Look at how he gets all the way down, high speed, over the turtles there. Gets right out next to that wall. You hear these tires just screaming for traction as he tries to get into the gas. Down into turn 3 and turn 4. And then right where we saw him start this lap here into the chicane, another heavy braking zone all the way down. Going to turn quick to the right, back to the left, try to plant that 800 horsepower, and down for heartburn turn again. He goes again, and that is one lap here, James, that fast at the Roval.
Yeah, and these elevation changes in these heavy Xfinity cars are very hard to negotiate. And as we see now, the 44 Dupont is up to second place. Not sure what happened to Joiners. He fell all the way back to fourth place here. We got a car in the wall, and Emerson spinning around. He's into the wall.
Oh, right there again, and it looks like that he had made some contact with the 43 of Hedgecock's who had gotten loose last time through that little hill right there. So going to be interesting to see what happened there. I think that might be worthy of a Beer Street Journal rec replay here in just a moment, just as soon as we can get our cameraman on it, just to see what happened.
Yeah, as we're going to the Beer Street Journal rec replay, please drink responsibly as we're going to go back into turn 2. A very tricky section, almost like you said, going across the walk bridge. Lots of elevation change, and the cars can get very loose here. We're riding on board here with Emerson. Yeah, he got the wall, and he actually just overreacted 57 of Emerson Ardon. He did the great thing there of just getting right back out of the car. Oh, and we hear Logan Joyner here has crashed. Okay, so here he is going through turn 4 here, and it looks like he probably just gets the power. Oh, there was a car stop.
There was a car stopped. Oh, man.
The one Byron McDonald just stopped right in the middle of the track, and there was just nowhere he could go there.
Yeah, let's see what happened to Byron McDonald here, James. I have a feeling he might, let's see. Yeah, he got some help there. He got in with the 43, looped it around, and right there, just trying to get it pointed back in the right direction. So we've seen the 43 this evening here being a few different incidents here, James. So not certain here what the what admins are going to look into or whatever. And actually, I'm being told looks like the 43 just parked it for the night, so he is done for the evening.
I'll tell you what, this Xfinity car is pretty durable because he definitely had some contacts. I don't know how that car was even still rolling, but what this means with all these incidents going on is Daniel Bowdler now has a 14-second lead over DuPont. So now he could take his time, and his strategy's coming across here. I don't know if these drivers are going to have a 2-stop or a 1-stop race, but kind of puts him into the catbird seat as he can kind of do as he pleases and just kind of ride, just really watch out for these lap traffic and make sure he hits his marks.
Well, man, I tell you, last night in the Truck Series races, it came down to the end of the race. Ed Shearer slowly started giving up a little more and a little more and a little more time. There was a couple trucks that were out there that were faster than him, but right now I just don't think that's Daniel Bowdler's problem. There is just no way right now anybody's going to catch him without a little bit of help. As you see, David Duke spun down here into the heartburn turn. He's going to get the thing going again. Going to make sure that he doesn't make any contact with anybody else, but right now, like I said, without any type of help, Daniel Bowder is just going to kind of run away with this thing. But that's the crazy part here, James. We're a third of the way through this race. That help for these other drivers can come at any second. You see how much chaos can take place on any given lap. You look at Logan Joyner just a few moments ago going through that very same turn Daniel Bowder just navigated. It was a completely clear racetrack in front of him until it wasn't.
Right, and yeah, the same bad luck that happened with Joyner can happen with Bowder. Don't want to put any broadcaster curse on, but just want to reiterate that anything can happen in any lap in this race. So really just has to pay attention to what's going on in front of him and do his best to keep that nose clean and keep that gap going.
Oh, see, I'm terrified right now, James, because, you haven't had a chance to broadcast with me yet. I am the king of the broadcaster's curse. So right now for Bowder, I am just absolutely terrified as you see him coming up on some more lap traffic as he enters the backstretch chicane. I think in the entire time I've been doing this, I picked one driver to win that actually did, and it was Byron McDonald at Talladega. He had qualified way in the back, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a driver who hasn't had much luck, and I'm going to send it and see what happens. And he came through for me that night. So right now, I'm hoping with this being my very last race in the booth, I can at least get my second broadcaster's win. But in order to do that, buddy, we're going to have a good little bit of racing here. You take the laps here at the Roval. It takes you about a minute and 20 minutes, up to a minute and 30 seconds to navigate here. So in this next 30 laps, this next 45 minutes or so that we've got here in the broadcast booth, we've got a lot of time and a lot can happen. As you see, Devin Zimmerman kind of settled in here into fifth after losing a couple spots. He's actually coming up on Logan Joyner. Logan's out there just kind of staying after his contact, just trying to keep as much track position as he can, because like we mentioned, with no fast repairs here, buddy, you've got to try to stay out here as much as you can. Hope that the car is not beaten up too much, and just gain whatever spots you can. And if he can come home with the top 5 this evening in the shape that car's in, I think that'd be a win for that 9 car.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as you were saying, kind of just nursing that damage home, he's doing a pretty good job at doing that. Because now we're riding on board here with Steve Hausman. It looks like he had a little bit of troubles here. No hood on that car, but still doing a good job keeping it on the track, and he's going to try to make the most of what he can with what kind of car he has left. Going back on the leader here as he's going through NASCAR Turn 3. Kind of a little bit more of an open track, so but he does have some more lap cars coming up, as there's already only 23 cars left in the lead lap, and we're only 15 laps into this race.
Yeah, and keep in mind, a lot of that is from that big wreck that happened down in turn number 1. A lot of contact, a lot of drivers having to hold the brakes, stop. And then, the ensuing chaos after that, I mean, it almost made a faux restart, so to speak, for some of those guys there as you see him navigate past Golan in the 18. Bowder looks like he's got this thing pretty well on lock, but like I said, don't want to jinx it, don't want to count anybody out of this race just yet. As you see DuPont there in the 44, he's navigated very, very well through the field here so far, has missed him a few wrecks, and man, I tell you what, as a very avid Kyle Larson fan, as I sit here in my Kyle Larson Valvoline T-shirt to broadcast this race, I got a little bit of a sentimental moment here with the 44. So going to be interesting to see what he can do. But he's under fire from Josh Balliet right here. Definitely want to watch this battle for a little bit, because nothing changing out front. A lot of wide open space. You just see how far out here in those elevation changes that we talked about here, James. And how when you get onto NASCAR 2, you have such a hard time getting that power down, especially this deep into a run. It's a big elevation change. These cars don't like getting throttle put down unless you're in a straight line. And same thing here with the braking, as you see Josh Balliet. It looks like he kind of outbrakes the 44 car just a little bit, rolls his center a little better. But look how the 44 just kind of powers out of the corner a little better. So, these guys are running very consistent lap times with one another. It's just a matter of who makes the mistake first. If DuPont can get away from Balliet, or Balliet can actually get up to his bumper and get around him for that second spot.
Right, and as you can see, as you were saying in the last chicane, Balliet is getting a lot harder into these chicanes, but as I've learned with practice, it's not about getting into the chicane faster, it's about having the momentum coming out of the chicane. As you can see, the 44 pulls a little bit further away from the 74, so maybe it looks like the 74 is pushing a little bit of the stuff as the 8 car does a good job there of getting out of the way and letting these lead lap cars having at it. You'd be curious to see, as we're watching on this battle, to see what the 74 can do, and might just be about, if you're faster in a passing zone, might be able to get back past them. If that 44 is faster in a section where it's hard to pass, it's going to be hard to get them back.
Yeah, and James, I don't know quite what fuel was looking like here. Did you have any idea how many laps these guys could go on a tank of gas?
I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 to 25 laps. So I think these guys are going to be able to do it on a one-stop. It's just a matter of on how you're feeling with the tires. But I don't really see many of these guys up in this front pack hitting around lap 15. So it looks like everybody's going to try to make this on a one-stop strategy that's in contention.
You know, and right now I feel like this is definitely the time that if you couldn't make it a one-stop race before, you can kind of save the fuel that you need to make it a one-stop race now, James. As you see DuPont lock up the rear tires there, a lot of wheel hop, but good job of them to manage it through there, sliding through that chicane, and Josh Balliet's going to get up alongside of him. We're going to be side by side as we head into turn 3. The inside line of DuPont kind of pulling out a little bit. Balliet going to fall back in line. Going to look to maybe set up the 44, but that's something I think you put into the notebook for later. You noticed just you kind of got to him. You know, he tried driving it a little deeper than he could, and you just saw how much wheel hop that he got, and almost a round he went down that backstretch chicane.
Yeah, it looks like the 44 might have used up a little bit of his rear tires. You can see him kind of spinning there into turn 1. So riding on here with Joshua Siegfried, looks like he might have had a little bit of troubles here coming on to NASCAR turn 3, doing a good job of letting everybody by here. And now we're back on board here with your leader, which I feel like we haven't been on for a while. Daniel
Josh Balliet.
Oh, good battle here.
Joseph DuPont side by side. This is going to be a big braking zone right here. We're going to see who wins it. It looks like finally Balliet worked the back bumper off of Joseph DuPont enough, got in his rear view mirror just enough to help him make a mistake. But I tell you what, DuPont's going to be coming right back here. He's not going to let that 74 get too far away. I mean, hey, you're talking the difference right here in $10 in money. Second place paying 20 and third place paying 10. So, buddy, if you can go up here and get that other spot, hey, $10 is $10, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be important here not to push your stuff too much. And, you know, if you burn those rear tires up, you're going to have another shot at another set of tires. So you might just want to ride here and try to keep Balliet in your sights and give him another chance here once we get the next set of tires on. As the leader here of Bowdler is taking the green flag here of starting lap 19, going down into turn 1, starting to come up on a couple more lap cars here. He still has some pretty clean slate here in front of him, looking really, really smooth, and really looks like it's his race to lose at this point.
You know, right now looking at the lap traffic, we talked about all the wide open space that Daniel Bowdler had a few moments ago, and it takes about that long for it to get eaten up, about a lap or two. And right now, looking at the lap cars that are in front of him, man, they are all spread out about a second apiece. So Bowdler just needs to be very, very careful here, navigate this traffic, kind of pick these guys off one at a time. And even with green flag pit stops coming up here and you having such the lead that you have, you can kind of afford here if you want to, James, to kind of back out a little bit, maybe not run the car as hard, not try to pick these lap cars off. You can give up a little bit of time here. It's so long as, you know, once you get back out with those fresh tires, you're ready to get on it. As you see him get hard into the brakes down here into the backstretch chicane. The car that's right in front of him, he really hasn't gained much time on. Can't really tell who that is there, but now you see him gain just a little bit. It's Nathan Nixon who was involved in that big wreck, and he's just going to move up and out of the way here of Bowdler. Knows he really doesn't have a chance to compete for the win, but look at these cars right in front of him, man. I mean, if you're watching down there on track, you'll see 3 cars all within about a second, 2 seconds of him. And he's just going to have to be very consistent, very patient here to pick these guys off as he heads to the inside for Heartburn turn and picks off the 5 car.
Yeah, I'm watching these lap cars as they must be watching the relative, watching Daniel Bowdler really reel them in. They're doing a fantastic job of just letting him have his race and get out of their way. As you said, there's a few more lap cars up in front of him, about a second and a half or so. But after that, it's looking pretty clear for your leader here. And he is still, I'm not sure if he's the fastest car in track, but he's still pulling on your second place driver in the 74, Josh Balliet.
Well, I'll tell you what here, James, you know, we were kind of talking about saving some fuel a little bit ago. You know, if you could only go to lap 21 or 22, whatever, at this point in the race, you can kind of start sitting here doing a little bit of short shifting, you know, not running the car all the way to the 9,000 RPM shift point. You know, do a little bit, back the corners up, just a little bit here to save that extra little bit of fuel you need to maybe go one more lap. But that's another part of the carnage here at the Roval. We are going to have green flag road course pit stops. And when it comes to this road course here, as you see, you see Stan Hausman there in the wall out of the chicane, or entering the chicane more than anything. when it comes to these green flag pit stops, you're going straight from the racing surface and onto pit road. And man, a race can be won or lost there as well. You don't want to be that guy that goes through, as you see Daniel Bowler working to the inside here. He's just going to think better of it, say, hey, you know what, we'll get him at a later time. But you don't want to be the guy who goes down there to get on pit road trying to get everything that you want out of it or everything you can, and you wind up getting a holding penalty. As a car stopped right in front of Daniel Bowler, he's going to barely navigate it to the outside. Very closeness there.
Good job by Wayne Rayburn there of taking the car and towing it down the pit road and holding the brakes to give Bowler a predictable spot to get around him. And like we were talking about earlier, anything can happen in any corner, and right there, Daniel Bowler's race could have went south, and he did a great job of getting around him.
Very good job. Your spotter who's up there on the stands, who's screaming at you, telling you where these wrecks are, had to tell him, hey, he stopped in the middle, and Daniel basically had a choice at that point to go to the outside or go to the inside. As you see him start to work this car in front of him, it looks like it's the 81 of Seth Reed, our points leader. Seth's just going to move to the high side, let Daniel have it. Now, fortunately for Daniel, after navigating all that, he's got a lot of clean track ahead of him. The next cars are actually exiting the chicane as he's entering, so he might get him a lap or two before he really has to worry about anything else. But yeah, for real, right here, James, this is where you're getting ready to set up. You're coming to the pits within the next 2, 3, 4 laps. So going to be interesting to see when these guys start pitting and how it's going to play out to the end of their race.
Yeah, very interesting to see how this plays out, but at least this is a very familiar pit entry, as a lot of these drivers have raced at Charlotte, at least the oval course, and it's very similar pit entry, a little bit different of a braking mark, but at least it's a familiar surface, of the car changing surfaces to enter pit road, so you can be familiar with that braking to get into there.
One thing I've always thought was kind of funny about this track, they reconfigured it after the very first race, just a couple corners, changed how they drove here. I never really realized it, James, but you spend so much time actually on the NASCAR oval here. I think all but maybe a couple 100 feet of the NASCAR oval is utilized in this Roval setup. And when this race was first announced, I, like so many other fans, were quite upset that Charlotte had lost its fall oval race. But when this race came out, the first year you had an exciting finish, the second year, the third year, this has been a very fun racetrack, and I think it's really going to play into how we begin to see oval racing, or rather road racing, take place in stock cars for many years to come. You have this race who got into the mix. Daytona followed suit with its own road race, so this is actually a very entertaining race and a great place to watch a road race. A lot of road race tracks that you go to purpose-built, you're dealing with big 3 and 4 mile tracks that there's really not grandstands. There's really not a great place to see the entire track. But here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, you can see from one end of the track to the other. You can see everything that happens here at Charlotte at the Roval. So while you're enjoying the simulated track tonight, when it comes fall time, I would suggest to anybody get out there to try to catch this one in person.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great track. A lot of aggressive braking zones, lots of momentum sections as well, where you can make some passes, and it puts on for some great 2-wide racing. As we're riding right now with Brandon Domingue in 23rd place, kind of looks like a modified out here, but looks like our leaders are making a green flag pit stop. Looks like Logan Joyner is making his way down pit road.
Yeah, and with Logan having lost the time that he did, this is one of those tracks especially, James, and I think you'll agree. You go through, if you abuse the tires in the tiniest little bit, and that even goes so far as to say a save, right? You get that car a little bit loose and you try to save it. That one save, and if that's the only save that you make out of an entire tire run, it will affect you for the end of the run. And you go through and look at some of these guys having to make 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 saves throughout the course of a tire run, and it just multiplies that tire wear factor that much more and that much more. Fortunately for Daniel Bowler up front, he hasn't had to worry about it, but for someone like Logan Joyner, when you had that contact with one just a little bit ago, the tires started to wear, he started to lose a little position, and man, maybe that pit stop's exactly what he needs to kind of go up here, make up a couple of these positions he's lost.
Yeah, I agree, and maybe get himself a little bit of track position and make those other guys force their tires to pass him, and maybe they'll slip up on their tires. So I like him coming down pit road here, having a clean mindset, reset, and getting some new tires, filling that car up with some racing fuel, and Second place is coming down pit road. Josh Balliet looked like he had a really good pit road there. And third place also is Joseph DuPont coming down pit road. So good pit entries for both of them as they look to service their cars. And the sixth still stayed out on the track.
Well, we were mentioning Balliet and DuPont there just a couple moments ago in the battle that they were having. Looks like DuPont did just as you mentioned there, James. Kind of kept the 74 in his sight. Said, hey, let's try and roll with him, and pitted the exact same lap. I mean, tire wear here is absolutely ridiculous as to how fast it can go. I'm just kind of looking at our leader, Daniel Bowdler's times, and, his very first green flag lap outside of the first one, he ran about a 1 minute and 23 second lap. His last lap by was a 1:26 second lap, so 3 seconds of drop off here in about 20 laps. So you don't want to be that guy with DuPont and Balliet who you try to stay out to get an advantage over the other guy, because I can promise you, James, you're not going to have that advantage. When Balliet pulls out of the pits and he's got 3 seconds as Bowdler begins to come to pit road here, when you got that 3 seconds faster than someone else on tires, it's not going to matter how many laps you stay out. You are going to be going to the back and in a hurry.
Yes, you are. It's like you said, you see the 6 hitting pit road here. And looks like Jordan Bain is in second place as he's elected to stay out as of this far. But I expect him to come down pit road this time as he's making his way through the chicane. A few cars in front of him, but looks like he's making some clean slates. We have a car spinning down through the inside. I'm not sure who that is.
Looks like Derek Silva there in the 5 there, James, is who it looks to be. I'll tell you what, let's take a look at a car we really haven't mentioned that much tonight, sitting in third currently, Greg Olenek. Kind of a local boy here as he begins to get onto pit road. He lives here and in the Charlotte area. A lot of the sponsorship that's on that 31 car, the Moulin Brew restaurant, is actually in downtown Charlotte. So, definitely want to give him a shout out here as he goes through to make his pit stops. Home race for him, and you definitely know he wants to perform well here. You see that car. I always joke and tell everyone it's my wife's favorite car because cows are her favorite animals. So I always joke and tell everyone Greg Olenek is her favorite driver. I just have to take the position of being second. But I do what I can. So, looks like Daniel Bowdler had a pretty uneventful pit stop back out on track, got his 4 fresh tires, and he's going to go ahead and set his sights back to just slowly picking these guys off one at a time. Right now with Josh Balliet, I'm not certain what happened to Joseph DuPont, but man, there's about a 10-second gap between the pair of them. I don't know if DuPont had problems on pit road or Balliet just got in and out that fast. I'm actually hearing a report from pit road says that he might have repaired just a little bit of damage on his pit stop. So
yeah, which I'm not sure if repairing that much damage is going to make that much of a difference on the car. So hopefully he can reel back in this time that he lost. As you can see, the 17 of Bo Brady has also made his way up to third. So not sure if he short pitted that or if he just had a really good pit stop. But he's made his way up to the third spot here as we're watching the 6 car of Bowdler clicking off 20 to go as he's going down into turn 1. Really hasn't lost any time since he made that pit stop. So a lot of clean slate in front of him. Just got to look to make some consistent laps here and cut down on the mistakes.
I'll tell you, as this race kind of ticks to its end here, James, I'm going to be watching that 3rd through 6th position here on the track, because you got Brady, like you said, has made his way all the way up to 3rd, but you just look between there and 6th, you're dealing with about 7, 8, 9 seconds depending on the lap, and that can really kind of squeeze up here. I mean, you just look between himself and DuPont, they're right there next to one another. You got Logan Joyner in 5th, who he's starting to pull away a little bit from Devin Zimmerman, but that spot, Zimmerman's going to be trying for that top 5 as hard as he can. And let me tell you something, if he can get to Logan Joyner, that's going to be a battle between those two. Logan doesn't like to go down without a fight, and Zimmerman, he's the exact same way, but Logan's needing that good finish tonight, man. Here's the thing. I am a little more passive of a driver, and it's probably gotten me in trouble more times than it should. If I'm sitting here and I'm Logan Joyner and we get down to 2 laps to go, I'm going to fight Devin Zimmerman for that 5th spot. But at the same time, if I know I'm not going to win it, you may as well just go ahead and roll over, let the man have it, and get your good finish out of it.
Yeah, boy, I agree with you. Yeah, as we're looking at Mike Lepicki here in 10th place, as he's working his way down through the very difficult elevation turn there, working his way back on the NASCAR turn 1. That car looks pretty clean considering he's in 10th place, as he was probably near that calamity that happened earlier in the race, working his way on the NASCAR turn 1. A little bit of damage on the back bumper, but nothing that will affect him here on the road course. looking pretty smooth here, representing Tank Racing, working his way onto the backstretch, working his way into this high braking zone as he's going to get this car woed down and go into the first chicane. Looking pretty smooth. He's using just the right amount of rumble strips here. Gets a little bit wide. Does a really good job though, keeping the car straight, keeping them tires from lighting up. Working his way through turn 3 and 4 on NASCAR right now into that other straight. But we got the 25 here. Jacobs Sazla here. Sala. I'm sorry. I am not here with these drivers too often, so I may butcher a few of these last names. But with the car looking like that, being in 13th place, you can't really complain about that.
No, not at all. Myself, being the number 25, I'm a little disappointed with the result. But hey, like you said, right now you got to take what you can get. And I tell you right now, Daniel Badler is just mowing through this field. He's on pace right now to go through and possibly keep less than 10 cars on the lead lap. I mean, right now we've got 16, and it looks like he's coming up here in a quick hurry on Daniel Keith Jr. So Daniel Badler just keeps ticking these times off, and like you said, I want to give a shout out there to Lepicki. I mean, he's doing a very good job. Always love seeing that 46 car when it's out on track. Always has some of the best paint schemes, and honestly, he's been very consistent and very quiet this season. And sometimes that's all that it takes, James, to build momentum, is for people to not say your name.
Yeah, absolutely. His good finishes have really proven to gotten yourself far in the championship. As looking in the Cup Series last year, look at the 27 to Gabriel Ellison, finished every race inside the top 10 that he raced, and that got him to the championship 5. So similar look here for Lepicki, as he's just keeping himself in the top 10 and look for that to carry him forward going throughout the season.
It's kind of funny here, James, because one big thing that we have that I'm not certain that we mentioned at the top of the pre-race show is that we have 3 drop weeks. Basically, in leading to the championship series, these drivers can take their 3 worst points finishes, or if they don't make a race at all, kind of eliminate that in terms of throwing it out the window, so to speak. So that way, you're only going to have your best of your best finishes. And for Gabriel Ellison, like you mentioned last season in the Cup Series, to have still had every one of those, I mean, James, could you imagine just someone walking up to you and going, "Hey, James, we have to throw away 3 races because every driver is going to have 3 thrown away regardless," and they tell you, "Hey, it's going to be your top 10s on the season." Could you imagine that? Just having that level of consistency.
Yeah, we'll say that's not a bad problem to have at all. 3 top 10 finishes being thrown out, isn't a huge deal, but, in the grand scheme of things, just shows his consistency. And, a lot of these other guys in the Xfinity series as well show that level of consistency week in and week out. So look for that to really help a lot of these guys out, week in and week out.
But I tell you, you want to talk about a level of consistency right now. It's on point with Daniel Badler in the 6s. We've got another car stopped in turns 1 and 2. Looks like it's the 66, but he stopped more to the inside. So that way he doesn't have to worry about it there. Yeah, Nathan De La Rosa there. It looks like he's going to get it back going. But, that could have been bad, James. I mean, Daniel Badler was already out of there, but we just saw earlier in the race how much of a mess that can make it. Sure enough, right there he gets it going. But right now, Badler's going to be fighting a little more lap traffic. Looks like the 4 here is going to move up out of his way. That's going to be Jose Castellanos, and he's going to work his way down here to this second chicane. Looks like the car in front of him is going to be the 35, Josh Marcy. So, he's still got a good little ways to go here as we go past or get ready to hit the 2/3 mark of this race, James. So through the first 2/3 of it, it's been pretty much all business here for Daniel Badler. But as the intensity begins to ramp up here, you've also got to remember, while we're talking about these top 5, top 3, and top 10 guys, some of these guys a little further in the back, they may still be battling for a position. They may not be on the lead lap. They may be 20th, 25th, whatever. But you're not just going to sit there and not take a point. We saw it last season multiple times in terms of the championship standings. 1 point being the difference in making it, not making it. You don't want to get to that championship cutoff race, miss the playoffs by 1 point, and go, "Man, I wish I would have pushed a little harder at the rope."
Right, yeah, as you saw even last year in the Cup Series, how close it was going into that last race. Really, anybody in that top group could have made the top 5, as it was within just a few points all the way up and down the standings. So as you said, even in this road course and this early in the season, you want to really salvage every point that you can. And even if you don't have the cleanest car, if you were in that calamity earlier in the race, just got to capitalize on what you have and just make the most of what you got. And a lot of these drivers with damage are doing so, and some aren't. Just unfortunately, that's just kind of how the race went so far.
Yeah, and when we mentioned here the drop weeks just a couple moments ago, also, you sit here and you go, oh, well, hey, you have a lot of guys who will go under the mentality of, oh, hey, I'm 27th. There's nothing really worth racing for. But what happens if you have a few bad races, right? And that 27th place finish becomes one of them that you need to have to try and make the championship. And you could have finished 26th, right? If you miss that by 1 point and you're sitting there and you say, hey, I gave a spot to a guy, or I didn't race a guy as hard as I could, you're not going to forgive yourself, especially if you turn around in the playoffs and just have a great 7 weeks behind that.
Right, yeah, I agree with you. Like you said, you just kind of get to give it 100% every race. I know all the drivers in SRN do so. And, one point can make the difference of making it or not making it, so it's going to be crucial to make the most of what you got.
I tell you, what's really funny right here is watching Daniel Balber right there as he was navigating the lap traffic. I think he's leaving just a little through the road course sections here, James, because, when he would get past the lap guys that were kind of hanging with him. So I think Daniel's just trying not to overdrive this car right now, trying not to make any type of mistakes. Kind of say, hey, I'll give up a 10th or 2/10 here, just so that way he can have seconds later on in the race. And it looks like the cloud cover has now completely enveloped this racetrack. It's, I know the fans at home can't really see it, but as I watch it on my screen, I tell you, buddy, it looks just plumb foggy out here at Charlotte Motor Speedway out in the distance.
Yeah, it does. As now we're on board with our second place driver at Valiant. You can see he's kind of lost a few seconds since the green flag pit stop. Since he was about 17 seconds back when they happened, he's now about 21 seconds back. And Joseph Dupont has made his way back up into P3 as he's passed Bo Brady for third place. He's about 4 seconds back, so he is catching a little bit on the 74 Valiant. But as you saw in the last set of green flag run there, he might be just using up his rear tires. So let's see if he can make his way back up to P2. But P3, definitely nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, that P5 and P6 position between Logan Joyner and Devin Zimmerman, I know I keep highlighting this every time that my mouth opens here, but that battle has gone from roughly about 6 and 7 seconds down to Zimmerman chomping it down to about 3.5, 4 seconds at this point in time. So he's definitely on the move here. But, man, I tell you, Daniel Keith Jr. right now in 15th. In that 23 car, that's a good little run coming from that team right now. He's needed a good run for the last few weeks, and sometimes a 15th place finish is what you need to start gathering a little momentum. A top 15 could lead to a top 10, to a top 5, to podium finishes and better. So, definitely interesting to see if he'll be able to hold on here to the end of this race, as it looks like here he's going to be fighting in just a moment here with Josh Marcy in front of him. So, a little more room here on track for Daniel Keith Jr. Few more spots he may be able to make up here before this is over. As you see Josh go around, and that's down here.
It's another roadblock here, but it looks like these drivers are going to be doing a good job to hold it on the bottom. It looks like the 18, I think, is going to pull it in. Nope. Okay, he's going to keep going. I thought for a second he was going to take the car back to the garage, but Michael Lepicki doing a good job of getting around those two cars there, spun on the bottom. But Daniel Bowdler is still smooth sailing here.
Well, fortunate to see Ryan Ducombe there get into that one. That poor car has just had the entire front end torn off of it. So I don't think overheating will be a problem on that one, because it's going to get all the airflow it could ever want. But right now, like you said, is Daniel Bowdler, you're talking to your spotter saying, man, tell me where these cars are. Get them out of my way. Do what you can so that way this can just be clean sailing in front of me. Like I said, he's got no competition from behind. It's not, if something happens with Daniel Bowdler, it is not going to come from behind him. It's going to be from in front of him. And right now he has to be aware of that, not push this car too much. And at the same time, as well as I do, James, he kind of does need to be pushing. It sounds like it's going to contradict itself. Don't push, but do push, because if something happens in front of you, you need to be able to loop that car back around and keep it pointing straight as you can. Get back on track and just be able to try and outrun the guy behind you. But right now, like I said, these cars have treated this 6 with a lot of respect this evening. He really hasn't had too awful much to complain about on the radio, I don't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. I'm just watching through the relative right now. It looks like a good battle is about to brew up here for 5th place between Joyner Joyner and Zimmerman, because that gap's closed down to within a second from what I'm seeing here. Oh, looks like, okay, now Relative's just having itself a time here. But they are catching up here. The 33 is within about 5 car lengths of the 9, so the 9 doesn't have a front end, but the 33 does have a front end. So let's see if that makes a difference here and how much that damage is going to affect the 9 car or Joyner.
Yeah, I'm telling you, buddy, if this was coming to the white flag or with 2 to go, if I'm Logan Joyner, I'm going to fight it tooth and nail. Right now, I think his best move, unless he legitimately has a little more speed than that 6 car, he needs to just kind of go ahead, let him by, let the 33 go take this spot. As much as you want that top 5 and as much as you want to get that entry feedback, as bad as you need a good finish, you don't want to make your finish even worse by fighting a guy here with that's a little faster than you are with 12 laps to go.
Yeah, I agree, and he has a lot of assurance room there behind Zimmerman, 7th place Bain and Atlantic, who were among the last of the cars to come down to take their green flag pit stop they're probably on the freshest tires here on the track, so has a little bit of room, so maybe he wants to just let the 33 go here if he gets up to him and give himself some room to, have some chance here. It looks like he's going to let the 33 just do that. He's going to follow in behind him here coming on NASCAR backstretch. Good move there by Joyner.
Yeah, it looks like in the road course portions, look like Logan's just about as fast as anybody, but with that front end damage, he can't keep the top speed with it. You'll really see it here. Probably 33 will start to pull away from him big out of the corners, but there through the infield portion, they were pretty well neck and neck. They'll probably be much the same here. But now with Logan, you still go through, you kind of push. You're pretty much guaranteed a top 10 finish out of this thing if you don't mess anything up. So right now, he's just got to do what he can to try and protect what spots that he can. Just get out of here with a good point stop.
Yeah, I agree. With what that car looks like, he is absolutely making the most out of what he can. With the car looking like that, if we were on Charlotte Oval like we're going to be later in the season, wouldn't be saying much of the same of him being in the top 5 unless if every car was like that. But doing what he can and making down some pretty smooth laps, and hopefully he can hold on to a top 10 finish.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes there for that 9 car. But up front, like we said, much of the same. Daniel Bowdler continuing to lead this race. I'll tell you, that lead is kind of stabilized just a little bit here, James. Now, like I said, with 20 seconds left, it's going to take a lot of time here for Balliet to possibly catch Daniel Bowdler as he comes to 10 laps to go. It's going to take a lot for him to catch it, but like I said, that lead's kind of stabilized. If not, he's cut just a little bit out of it.
Yeah, I think he has cut about a second out of it, but with only 10 laps to go, he's going to have to be about 2 seconds faster a lap. Without some help of these lap cars maybe getting in the way of the 6 car, I really think it's going to be hard for the 74 Balliet to close in on him. But as you see there through that corner, he lost about a second. But as we talked about earlier, he really has a lot of room, so he can kind of lay back on these lap cars. If it's on a good spot to pass, he can kind of wait and let for a good time to pass. But doing a great job of keeping the nose clean. He's been navigating. Yeah, we have Bo Brady here hitting pit road from 4th place. So not sure if he didn't have enough fuel to make it or what his strategy is here. But he's going to throw some more sticker tires back on the car, and kind of a bizarre strategy there.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain what happened there, man. I mean, I don't know if he had maybe pitted a little too early as opposed to everybody else. I'm trying to go back and look here to see when his last pit stop was, but yeah, bizarre strategy there from Bo Brady. So, hey, right there, we kind of mentioned just a few minutes ago with Logan Joyner, even though you had lost a spot earlier, you just gained it back with that pit stop. So go out here, just make the most that you can out of it. As we begin to see some of these battles start to heat up, the best thing Bowdler's got in his rearview mirror right now, even though Balliet now is starting to cut that 2 seconds out per lap, Joseph DuPont is starting to kind of gain a little bit of distance on Balliet as well. So if you're Daniel Bowdler, like I said, if you're saving a little something in the tank right now, great. That's going to benefit you very well at the end of this race. But if you're giving it everything you have and you're losing this 2 seconds a lap, that heart rate's going to go up, and the urge to make a mistake will go as well.
Yeah, and I think Bowdler's just playing a smart race at this point. He's just kind of seeing what kind of gap he has. Just kind of knows what kind of laps he has to click off. So I think he's just doing the best he can to just keep the pace in the car and just not give up too much. And I'm also looking at this ticker here as well. And as you said, DuPont is closing in a little bit on Balliet, but also the battle for 5th place is closing in too, with Joyner being reeled in by Bain here.
Yeah, and like I said, that's a money spot, man. I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, hey, you want that one more point as we see a little bit of incident happen in front of Daniel Ballard, but he navigates it perfectly fine through the chicane. But man, if you're Jordan Bain and you're chasing down Logan Joyner here about 2 seconds ahead of you, you get to that back bumper, man. That's $10 in front of you. Like we said, $10 is $10 as he works past Seth Reed, our points leader. Having a little bit of a rough night. The points are going to look very interesting by the time this is done, as Tristan Bailey there looks like he maybe had a little trouble out of the last chicane. Daniel Ballard is going to go past him, and now only 10 cars on the lead lap.
10 cars in the lead lap. I knew that the pace would be pretty good from the leader, whomever it would be, but I don't think that I was expecting only 10 cars to be on the lead lap with only 8 laps to go. But as we talked about earlier, that big caution, well, I should say wreck with no caution, because we don't have cautions on the road course, really narrowed the field up. Oh, the 25 is wrecked! I don't know if he collected anybody there, maybe the 11 there. I'm not sure if he collected them, but good job. Oh, his 74 barely gets around him there at Valiant. That was almost a heartbreak moment for our P2 driver.
Well, I tell you what, that's something Daniel Ballard likes to see in his rearview mirror, because that's going to take a little bit of that time that Valiant had made up on him, and it's going to kind of tick it away here. But that's something that DuPont right behind it loves even more, because that's going to let him pull up just a little closer. He's got 2 very damaged race cars in front of him. He's just got to be smart to navigate them here. I'm telling you, that second place finish, that's going to be an interesting one by the time this checkered flag falls.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to be very interesting by the time it falls. And it looks like too the battle for fourth might be heating up here as Zimmerman is blinked out here, but Joyner has reeled him back in. So maybe the 33 has burned his tires up a little bit. Looking to see the 33 will probably pull again back once we get onto the NASCAR part, just because of his aerodynamics. But Logan doing a great job of holding his ground here and keeping the 33 within his sights. You know, if the 33 makes a mistake, look for the 9 to capitalize on that and take that position right back, because the battle for fourth is really heating up here with about 3 or 4 drivers.
And, you know, that's a funny part about damage here on iRacing, James, is when you look at Logan Joyner with that damage on his front end, you think, oh, man, you know, like you mentioned earlier, if you're running the oval configuration, oh, yeah, that car has no chance of winning. It's out. It's done. But right now with this infield portion, because of the front end being open, because of the front tires having a little less heat in them, as you see Jordan Bain come up here to Logan Joyner, going to try to pass him to the inside, going to be clear, going to get it. Let's see how Joyner rolls this set of corners here. But because of that front end being a little cleaner and those tires actually getting a little more air to them and being cooler, sometimes a car with damage like this can just outrun you like crazy on the infield portion. Take a look at Formula One or IndyCar or any open wheel series versus stock cars. They're going to run faster on road course portions, and you can kind of see it right here. I mean, Logan, you just saw how easily he got past on the oval, but he is definitely scrappy down here in the road course session.
Yeah, he is. He was sticking on the bumper of the 28 here really good, but as long as the 28 can keep it in front of the 9, he's going to pull back away here once we get onto the NASCAR track and really look to set his sights on the 33 to try to reel him in for fourth place. As time is running out, but 7 laps to go here. A lot of time. That's, you know, about 9.5 minutes or so of racing time. So definitely has enough time, you know, to even improve his finishing position of the top 5 even more.
And he's definitely catching them here. I mean, it's, you know, the whole top 10 right now. You have Daniel Ballard, like I said, you know, and I'm sorry for the ones at home. If you were looking for a close race for the win, at this point in time, you're not going to get it. The best of the best on road courses are going to wind up towards the top here. But these other battles that are on track here, James, which are just as entertaining to watch, this second place, everywhere through the top 10, it's going to be crazy, because I just don't think right now that all these positions in the top 10 are going to stay where they're at. There's going to be some position changes but by the time the checkered flag falls. Let's go to that battle for second right now, because it looks like Josh Balliott and Joseph DuPont are going to be right on each other. DuPont slowly reeling him back in. Looks like maybe about 7 or 8 car lengths ahead of him. But just a matter of a couple of tenths on track here as they work on to NASCAR 1.
Yeah, and the 44 of DuPont was about 4.5 seconds behind Balliott after he fixed that damage. And maybe I'm not looking like the smart guy. Maybe him fixing that damage has allowed him to reel back in Balliott.
Look at the relative right there. Look at that. Every second you got about 1,000th clicking off here, or 100th clicking off. Now, when we get down in here into the chicane, into the braking zone, you'll see it change. But I definitely think that 44 maybe learned a little something on that first run, saved a little equipment, and man, he's going after that second place spot and in a hurry.
Yeah, he is. As you see the 60 there up on the high side doing a great job to get out of the way. Let the 44 try to reel in the 74, getting into the last chicane here, a very high braking point because he's really charging in hard. But he's going to do a good job of getting the car woed down and keep his sights set on the 74 going into the heartburn turn here of turn 1. You know, only about 8 or 9 cars back with 5 laps to go. You know, anything can happen here. And he's definitely shown that he's had a little bit better pace than 74, but it's all going to be about who makes the mistake and who can keep the car on track. So doing what he can, like I said earlier, just keep him in sights, and he's doing a great job of doing that. As Bowdler has even extended his lead back out just a little bit to about 22.5 seconds. The last time we touched on it, it was only about 17 seconds. So not really looking for the 74 to reel him back in at all, you know, with 5 laps to go. As it looked like, you know, when we were at 10 to go, he lost 2 seconds that first lap. You know, hey, you know, anything can happen. We were looking, hey, maybe he can reel him in, but you know, as this lead's growing with 5 laps to go, I think it's too little, too late.
Yeah, definitely a little too little. A little too little. Yeah, I'll get it out here in a minute there, James. One of these days, it sounds like maybe I didn't listen to Beer Street Journal too awful well. But you know, just don't let the production booth know that one. But you know, out here, some great battles on track. You see Jordan Bain actually coming up here to the back bumper of Devin Zimmerman. Going to fight him for this 4th spot. Devin's going to actually throw a little bit of a block here, not let Jordan get the spot he wants. So let's see if Jordan tries to send it in deep here into the backstretch chicane. Looks like he's going to sit behind him, going to hold him here. Let's just see, because this is going to be a good battle. Looks like Jordan gets way up on those turtles, loses a lot of momentum there, though.
Yeah, and behind him, too, Logan Joyner in the 91 also going to have a good battle here. As the 91's looking to the outside of Joyner. That damage on the front end is just too much to handle on the NASCAR portion of the track. So I think the 9 here is going to lose the spot to the 91, but, you know, still doing a good job to keep that car in the top 10. And it looks like he has lost that spot.
Yeah, definitely lost that spot there, James, but not an issue. Right now you got Greg Olenek about another 3-4 seconds behind you. If you can hold on to that 7th place spot with the way that car looks, after your first 3 weeks just being as rotten as what they have been here in the Speed Racing Network Xfinity Series, I think that would be a huge points night for Logan. Those first 3 races may very well wind up being his drop weeks. As we go back to that battle for 4th here with Devin Zimmerman and Jordan Bain. Right now, Zimmerman kind of holding steady pace on it. This was the portion of the track where Jordan really kind of outran him last time, right through this last couple corners onto the infield, right before NASCAR 1. You see him run a little further left, a little shorter of a line. This time looks like Devin actually goes through, gets onto the track pretty well, and pretty consistent lines there by both of these drivers. I just wonder if with Jordan back there, if maybe he saw that move that Devin had made and said, you know what, I don't need it right now. Let me just try and see if I can make a mistake. As he gets hold onto the brakes into the back bumper. And 28 goes around and big contact behind him.
Oh, the 91 is going to get
in that. The 91 got into it.
The 1X going to miss it as well. Oh, big mistake there for Jordan Bain. Oh, now he's stuck in the barrier. I feel bad for Jordan Bain there, as he was running a really good race. And, you know, like you said, it only takes one mistake, and unfortunately they're just pushing the tires. Got in there a little bit deep and just made that mistake. But he should be able to hang on to a top 10, you know, even with that spin out and a little bit of damage. You know, those tire walls don't really do too much to the car. So I expect him to be all right here. And, you know, with only 3 laps to go, you know, I think he can salvage a top 10 out of this.
Well, I tell you what, I love my sponsors, and I know Speed Racing Network does as well. Oh, there's a 91 around. Zach Deutscher around. Oh, my goodness, the carnage is starting to ensue here. And I tell you what, I think that's a great time to take a look at a Beer Street Journal Rec replay as we get ready to head down to 2 laps to go. Nothing out front different. Let's take a look at what happened with the 91 and see if we can't see what also happened to Jordan Bain on the backstretch here.
And as Dee didn't read off the screen here, please drink responsibly.
Let's see what happened with Deutscher here. Oh man, a lap car to his inside. How rotten of luck! But Greg Olenek gets into it there as well. I tell you what, that's some rough last second luck here. But let's look at Jordan Bain. Watch this in car. I bet you can hear wheel hop from a mile away. He tries to get up to the back bumper, just kind of pushes it. Let's see here. Yeah, he's going to drive this thing down in here, and you can just hear those brakes just not even working on that traction. Gets to the inside, gets hit by the 91. A lot of rough luck there for the 28 and the 91, both in the course of a lap. But right now here, 2 laps to go out front. Daniel Bowdler Josh Balliet, and then Joseph DuPont. That battle's going to be for second here right now. It looks like Logan Joyner right now is holding the 5th spot, but he's going to have a little. He's going to have some fight from behind with Bo Brady. Bo has those brand new tires. That's not going to be much of a fight here for very long, I imagine.
Yeah, and I, once again, making myself look stupid up here in the broadcast booth. It was questioning why he came down and took tires, but looks like he might even be able to improve his position, by taking the tires, which
Just
is
a little bit.
pretty fantastic. If we're about to take the white flag here, it looks like the 6 car is going to take, and the battle for second is going to be heating up, though, as they're within a second of each other.
Well, white flag out front for Daniel Ballard. Nothing that you're missing there. A lot of wide open track in front of him. Josh Balliet here and Joseph DuPont, they're going to come around to take the white flag. If DuPont's got anything left in that car, now is absolutely the time to show it here. As they work through that final chicane, Daniel Ballard down the second short chute, heading into the hill climb, I'll call it, about to enter NASCAR 1. Not missing anything out front, but right here a great battle. And also we'll watch that battle for 5th. Looks like actually that Brady just got past Logan Joyner here. So they're going to be heading down for the white flag as well shortly. It looks like DuPont closed up a little bit here, buddy. Looks like he's going to be trying to maybe put that final stake in for that second spot. Try and get Josh Balliet to make that mistake that he made a little bit ago with some wheel hop. Looks like I said, it gets a little loose into that hill there. But up front, let's go to the lead into NASCAR turn number 3. Daniel Ballard started on the pole this evening, has led every single lap here on this white flag. He's going to work through NASCAR 4, get down through the chicane, a couple lap cars in front of him, but nothing to worry about. Daniel Ballard goes flag to flag and wins here at Charlotte.
What a race by Daniel Ballard, and you actually you got your first ever pick there coming in first place. Didn't have the broadcaster curse.
Well, that's my second one. Yeah, that's my second one. I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it. That's just the first one I didn't jinx Daniel Ballard, but it looks like here with Josh Balliet and Joseph DuPont, the 44 is just not going to be able to get there in time. Second, going to be coming across the line, the 74 of Josh Balliet. Looks like here in 4th for the second week in a row, we're going to have Devin Zimmerman, so long as everything stays clear in front of him. Looks like no type of incidents, anything. He's going to have a pretty clear track. So it looks like he'll be coming home 4th. 5th looks like it's going to be Bo Brady. So a great job there by that top 5. And like I said, back-to-back 4th place finishes there for car number 33. So I know he's going to be stoked about that.
Yeah, good job by the 33 there. Just keeping his way up in that top 5 and just running a pretty overall smooth race. And now you're going to see Bo Brady coming across here to round up your money spot, top 5. And Logan Joyner there with that really torn-up race car in 6th. Greg Olenek even getting that late race damage is going to come across 7th. And Jordan Bain, after spinning out and hitting the wall on the inside, is going to be P8.
Look at Lipicki in 9th, buddy. Look at this, Mike Lipicki in 9th. Great run for him this evening. It looks like Markle's going to round out your top 10, but a little bit of racing still left to go here on track. But 9 cars finish on the lead lap tonight here at Charlotte. We'll get those unofficial results up here just as soon as we have them. But out front here, Daniel Ballard going to come to the start-finish line and get ready to burn these tires down for Roval Motorsports. A lot of independent drivers in the top tonight, but Roval definitely needed some good runs tonight out of their drivers, and they had 2 of them there in the top 10.
Yeah, they did. It was all but awaited for Roval Motorsports to get that Xfinity win, as they've not had very good luck at all to start the season. Watching the 6 car here burn it down, you can tell he's excited to get that win. But running down through the official results, we kind of already touched on these, but we'll run back down through them again. So we have Daniel Ballard taking the win here in 1st, and Joshua Balliet in 2nd place. Joseph DuPont coming home in P3. Devin Zimmerman P4. Bo Brady P5.
Yeah, Logan Joyner there for Roval Motorsports holding on with that damaged car in 6th. Greg Olenek, another great run there for the Moo and Brew machine in 7th. Jordan Bain in 8th after some late race incidents there. Definitely hate to see him lose those spots in the way he did. Mike Lipicki with a great finish in 9th. Tyler Markle in 10th. Tristan Bailey in 11th for Smith Road Racing. Daniel Keith Jr. in 12th. Jose Castellanos in 13th. Josh Marcy in 14th. Corey Saucer in 15th. Aaron Gerwitz in 16th, Nate Nixon in 17th, and Brandon Domain's going to round out your top 18. Last two spots there in your top 20 for the evening. That's going to look like here. Seth Reed, your points leader, going to come home 19th, and Nathan De La Rosa there in 20th. So, man, I tell you what, we got to see us a crazy fight this evening, a crazy race as Daniel Bowdler and the Roval Motorsports guys continue to burn it down. Looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get here with Joseph DuPont. So I tell you what here, let's go ahead and get our second place finisher up in the booth here, Josh Balliet. It looks like he may not be out of the car yet. I'll tell you what, let's break a little tradition here, James. Why don't we get our fourth place finisher, Devin Zimmerman, up here in the booth?
Yeah, let's change it up a little bit. Let's bring that 33 of Devin Zimmerman up in the booth here.
Devin Zimmerman, this is Dean Brummett and James Holzer up in the Speed Racing Network booth. You weren't expecting to get pulled up into the booth for a fourth place finish, but how are you doing this evening, buddy?
Hey guys, I definitely was not expecting to get pulled up. I'm quite worn out.
Well, I'd say so, buddy. You drove a heck of a race this evening. Me and James were kind of touching on it all night long. A lot of consistency out of that 33 car this season. We've seen over the last couple seasons, you kind of come into your own here in the Speed Racing Network series. Started to see a little consistency at the start of last season, but a lot of it here at the start. What has been the change for you there in that 33 machine to kind of propel you here to these great finishes? I know 2 back-to-back fourth places between last week and this week.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't expecting it here. Unfortunately, some of my teammates got taken out in turn 1 on lap 1, which was unfortunate. Luckily, I was able to miss it, but I think it's just consistency with racing with the team. We're doing team practices and all that, and all the practices and stuff together kind of just, I don't know, they lead to consistency and me getting faster and consistently faster. And like this week, we had a team practice at the Roval, and we all practiced together, and we got to see where everybody kind of was. And you just, you're trying to go for that extra tenth every single lap, and just be smart. Also, there was a bonehead move done in, I believe it was Kansas. And that got me into some trouble, and I should have been up at the front that whole race. But, just trying to eliminate all of the self-mistakes and, just drive clean and consistent laps. And, that's getting me these 2 back-to-back fourths, which I can't complain about. It's really nice to have this LiftWorks Incorporated 33 machine up in the front. If you don't mind, I want to go ahead and just shout out the sponsors, LiftWorks, Healthcare Billing Incorporated, Chicago Heights Star Tool and Die, 100 Anesthesia Associates, Hooters, Butcher's Box, Common Sense Supplements, my wife's business, Honey Press. A lot of guys, make this team go around, and we couldn't be happier to have them on board for the season.
Well, buddy, I tell you what, some great finishes have come your way this season, a long list of sponsors. I know that I love getting my sponsors exposure. I've been fortunate enough to do it myself in the Cup Series. Those sponsors are going to get their money's worth this season here, Devin. Great fourth place finish for you here this season. We'll get you back down to your team. Congrats again, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Good job on the broadcast. I'm definitely going to watch it as soon as we're done here. But, Dean, you always do a great job. But just thank you so much, and thanks Sean for running the front of the house, Trip and Danny for doing the admins, and thank you guys.
Hey, you're welcome, buddy. Awesome job. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Well, buddy, that, like I said, got to break a little tradition there. But I tell you, right now, the biggest tradition that we get to have here is we're going to go up front to victory lane with our winner, Mr. Daniel Bowdler, in the 6 car. Daniel, this is James Holzer and Dean Brummett up in the Speed Racing Network booth. Do you have a copy, buddy?
I got you guys. How's it going?
Oh, buddy, it's going good here, but I don't think it's going quite as good as it is down there in those 6 pits. Congratulations on a flag-to-flag win, driving an absolutely flawless race here this evening.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was a good race. Just kind of really focused on not making any mistakes and just trying to keep the car clean. So it seems to be about the best way around here.
if you do the thing and you do it right and you don't mess it up, it just works. Is that pretty much what you're telling everybody, Daniel?
That's pretty much it, man. That's my whole race tonight.
Well, there you go, buddy. Well, I tell you what, there was so much carnage that we watched behind you. Just the entire track kind of turned into a parking lot there at one point in turn number 1, and you were well past driven away from it. As you were listening to the radio tonight, how did you keep yourself locked in between the drivers who weren't having a good night, maybe a little frustrated over the radio, the wrecks? What was all going through your mind throughout every single one of these 45 laps tonight?
I actually muted the radio for all the other guys in here, and I was just listening to Jake, my spotter. So he did a heck of a job getting me through everything and letting me know what was up ahead of me. And we really didn't worry about anything behind me as long as I didn't come around, back to it. And so gotta really thank him tonight for getting me through all the mess.
Well, buddy, flag to flag type of a win here this evening. Those are always the great ones to get. Got that first one for the team down here on this season, and next week we go through, get back to a little more conventional type of a racing than what we're used to. But awesome job here, Daniel. Before we get you back down here to the team, anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to or thank this evening?
Oh yeah, I mean, first off, I got to thank Jake and all the guys here at RMS. I mean, heck of a job, practicing all week and getting everybody ready in tip-top shape for each race. So, that's pretty important to all of us here. But also, Next Diag coming on board and sponsoring me this year. Really appreciate that from those guys. And Off Apex Designs for what a spectacular wrap, man. I mean, that thing looks gorgeous out there.
Oh, it does. Like, me and James were actually talking about it in the pre-race show, how, I think my exact words were, Mark Martin had a lot of success here at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the 6, and I think that same 6 is going to Victory Lane just on a different format tonight. So you were actually my pick for the night here, but a great-looking car here, Daniel. Awesome job tonight, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Glad it was a good race.
Well, buddy, we're going to let you get back down to your team to celebrate here. Congratulations once again, and have a great evening.
You guys too. Thanks.
Thank you, buddy. Well, James, there you have it, buddy. The first race in the broadcast booth for yourself, and unfortunately, the last race in the broadcast booth for myself for the foreseeable future. Definitely want to go through and thank everybody here at Speed Racing Network for allowing me here to do this. I tell you what, before we go, let's go ahead here and look up Josh Balliott one more time, see if we can't get him on the radio.
Yeah, he said he was ready.
Josh Balliott, this is Dean Brummett and James Holzer up here in the Speed Racing Network booth. Do you have a copy, buddy?
Yep. Howdy.
Hey, how's it going there, buddy? We're sorry we had a little hard time getting in touch with you a few minutes ago, but wanted to make sure that we got you up here in the booth. Hey, man, congratulations on your finish here this evening. Second place is definitely nothing to scoff at here. We saw the battle that you had there with Joseph DuPont coming down towards the end of the race, man, and, saw that increment kind of getting closer and closer and little damage on your car, man. Walk us through what 45 laps here at the Roval looked like tonight.
It was a big struggle from turn one, as you know, as the issue. But at the end there, DuPont really found something, and I was just down so much speed on the straightaway. We were struggling with like two minutes of damage there, so it was a struggle basically the whole night. Surprised we ended up finishing second, but I guess a pile up in turn one will help that happen, I guess.
Yeah, the good news is there was a lot of damaged cars behind you that helped you out.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd even use the term pile up. I think we're going to have to invent a new term for what we saw in turn one. Yeah, not even parking lot. Junkyard would be a great one there, James. But man, great job on the finish here this evening. Anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to here, Josh?
Yep, as you know, we've got a little bit of a list here, but Teesprings, Liftworks Incorporated, Chicago Heights Star Tool and Die Incorporated, Healthcare Billing Incorporated, Raise Energy, Hunterton Anesthesiology and Associates, Butcher Box, Common Sense Supplements, Invader Zim Designs, and all my tank team that helped me out there. Devin bring me on, drive for them in the Cup Series.
Well, buddy, we mentioned it to Devin earlier. there's always great to get that sponsor exposure. Your sponsors got it doubly here this evening. And, man, just want to congratulate you again on a great second place finish. What did you learn here tonight that you can kind of translate into Sunday for the Cup Series?
I don't know how much, but the Xfinity car, it's not as quick around the track, but it really helps with the Cup car tends to slide a bunch in the rear end, even since we're doing the low downforce, and Xfinity car slides around possibly even more, so it helps you with your car control mostly. So I'd say that what really helped out here with the practice.
Well, buddy, me and James will see you out there on Sunday night here for the Charlotte Roval race. Congratulations again on your second place finish this evening. We look forward to battling with you Sunday night, buddy. Congrats again.
Yep, thank you, and good luck to you guys on Sunday.
Hey, thank you, buddy. Have a great night.
Thank you.
You too.
What a race we just had there. That was action packed all the way, from the beginning to the end. But looking at next week, we're going to be going to South Beach here. We're going to be going to Homestead Miami Speedway. Going to be the same time, the same place, but definitely going to be looking for some multi-groove racing, see who can work the walls, who can work the bottom. It's going to be a lot of action packed racing from the beginning of the race to the end of the race, all the way from the beginning of the pack to the end of the pack. What do you think is going to happen next week, Dean?
Man, I tell you, it's going to be interesting. I won this race last season in a tribute car there at Homestead Miami Speedway, and I tell you what, we didn't have the multi-groove racing there at that point in time. So now that they've got the multi-groove, we're going to see cars spread out everywhere. You're going to see different grooves come in, go out, and man, I tell you, it's. I think that is going to be probably one of the best races we are going to watch all season, and I'm going to go ahead and put my money on it. Unfortunately, won't be in the booth next week, but you can join us here at Speed Racing Network next Thursday, August the 12th at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern for that race. And also, like we mentioned here, James, Sunday night, going to be the Right Turn Roval 125. You and I are going to be doing battle for 55 laps here at Charlotte at the Roval. That's going to start Sunday, August 8th at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Well, from everybody here at Speed Racing Network, I, Dean Brummett, would like to thank everybody who's tuned into the races I've been able to broadcast. Like I said, hopefully at some point in the time in the future, I may be able to be back up here in the booth. But until then, I'm going to stick to driving the car. James, you did a great job here in your debut this evening, buddy. Like I said, I think the broadcasting booth spot is in good hands. But from everybody here at Speed Racing Network, we just want to remind you to stay safe and go faster.